Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Never An Afterthought Show. My name is Afolabi Imoukhuede. I'm the author of the book, The Never An Afterthought, and the anchor for this show. It's important to know that the show didn't just start. The show actually emanated from the book, The Never An Afterthought book, that was released almost a year ago now, June 2020, which is actually a memo of mine, and I would love you to grab your copy. If you haven't done so, you can always get your copy from our website, www.neveranafterthought.com. That's our website where you can get your copy, and you can always, the links are there, whether it's Amazon if you're outside of country, whether it's through some of our partners, booksellers, Rovinites. All the links are on our website. Let's continue on our series that we tag AI and you. AI mean Afolabi Imoukhuede, not artificial intelligence. AI and you. And you know that what I do at such sessions is really taking time out to glean your feedbacks, to respond to your feedbacks across a few episodes. And that's what I'll be doing today. Yes, so far, Side Hustle with Bodala Ray, which ran across 2 episodes, and our episode with Kola Aina on art and tech. Both episodes remain our highest engagements so far. So I want to thank you for continuously having us in your space. It's a privilege for us to do this and to bring this show to you every week. So for those of you who have started your Side Hustle, how far? How is it going? That's clearly still one of the most, one of the episodes with the most heat and the most talked about. So I'm sure it's because some of you have found it useful. So I want to know how your side hustles are coming. Please let us know. Hit at us and let us know how it's all coming with you. Okay, so today we're going to be taking feedbacks from the last 3 episodes. But before we continue, don't forget our hashtag, the Never An Afterthought. Hashtag by which we join, and we also continue these conversations across all our social media channels, Twitter at NAA_book, Facebook and Instagram at NA Afterthought. Those of you who like to write, you can always drop me an email, podcast@neveranafterthought.com. And last but not the least, you can leave your comments on the platform wherein you're listening or watching me. We're going to proceed now to discussing your comments, your feedbacks. I've gleaned them across episodes 18, 19, and 20. And what I've done, particularly for those comments that came during the intergenerational conversations that we had for episode 18 and episode 19, wherein I had Professor Oluwaina, Dr. Shaguaina, and myself on set representing various generations. And then I obviously had some of you at home representing your own generations as well. So what I've done with those feedbacks, very exciting feedbacks actually, and I've grouped them across 4 categories. The first is what I call charity begins at home, or what I would say mentorship. And Amarachi Samuel says, the synergy between father and son. I love this. I'm happy to see father and son together like this. Kudos to the Aina family. Another feedback came from Jomi. He just simply goes by Jomi. I imagine it's Jomi Photos. He says, at the end, Daddy's decision was for my good. And this is exactly what Shegun said, and he was referring to Daddy's decision for him to go ahead to read, for him to go ahead to bag a PhD. And so Jomi says, this reminds me of an old saying, what elders see while sitting down, a child cannot see from the top of, it says, a child cannot see even if he climbs the tallest building around, or people like to say, even if the child climbs an Iroko tree. Yes, you're right, which is again why I said mentorship, charity begins at home. That's what you're all talking about, the bond between father and son, the bond between the family. We all know society begins from the home. Home is the bedrock of society. So really mentorship should really start from the home. And so yes, Jomi, thank you. Another person, Olaide Bejide, says, what I got was a sweet conversation between dad and son. It's lovely to see and following in the footsteps of his father in the academics. Kudos to the Ainos. Again, Yes, great job. Great job to Prof and the family. And then across episode 20, where Jomi again, because mentorship came up again in that episode. That's the episode that we had, Igniting the Power Within, with Noge Odebolu, Wall Street professional, last episode, which was just last week. He says, having the right mentors is a key ingredient in achieving good success in any endeavor. I agree with you. And so we've seen it. Mentorship is very important. It can and should really start from the home. The next category is what I call culture and values. And Olawale Peter says the role of father's blessing, not the only thing going through tough time, but even the African culture, the value of the African culture is going through a tough time. And I guess I was saying that in relationship to the generations, that the younger generations perhaps maybe the value of the African culture is diminishing as the years go. That's a strong point. It's an opinion, it's a strong opinion. In some way, I think I agree with it, but by and large, again, it still comes back again to the home. Culture is handed down, and most times handed down in African context, is handed down through folklore, is handed down through traditions, So really, whether the culture begins to diminish, it's really again a function of the home. It's again a function of what we do as parents, to our children. So yes, again, if we just really begin to fix the home as the bedrock of the society, I'm sure it will also take care of this. I mean, we heard Prof say that some way, somehow, his generation oversighted the decline that we're seeing in our country and generally perhaps in the world as well. So yes, the value of the African culture, I think it's important. Another group is what I call employability, and that's talking about the synergy between industry and academics. That's actually something that I discussed at length in the book, the Never An Afterthought book. Perhaps if someone can let me know what chapter or chapters that I actually discussed industry and academics, the alignment of industry and academics, which really drives employability. And so Adediro Akinlolu from France says, I think this is a good conversation between the industry and academics, and this challenge and disparity are key issues for good employability, irrespective of grades in our university and polytechnic. However, there should be a later topic on these two institutions. Well, again, like I mentioned, the show stemmed out of the book. A lot of this I have discussed in great detail in the book, and we continue to harp on it as we progress. Thanks for that feedback. I think the fourth category of feedbacks is what I call the intergenerational or intergen. And the first came from Mrs. Folusho Samuel, where she said, where is the Voluntary Service Association or its equivalent today? And that's because Prof had mentioned, his early career in the Nigerian Voluntary Service Association in his days. And I think that volunteerism, internships are actually great aspects for young people on how to start out in life. So it wasn't a surprise that it was a strong, was a strong culture in Prof's days. We lost it along the way, but I know that it's also something that is coming back. When we ran the Empower program of the federal government, it was one of the things that we did to make sure it was a paid volunteer program at that time. And it was something that we did to imbibe that consciousness of volunteerism. I know that volunteerism and internships are two great ways by which you can make a good head start in your career. Noge referred to that in episode 20 last week when she talked about her own experience as well. So I think that's a good point. Olawale Peter says, it's so sad to hear that these countries came to Nigeria to learn this or that, and we see how they developed, how they develop their knowledge. But here it is degraded and all we have is a mirage. It's sad, man. Well, again, that's a sad reality, but that's why we're having this conversation so that each and every one of us pick up, just pick up the task to drive some change in whatever form. Another feedback from Chigozie McDom says, I don't think we lack ideas of what to do for our nation to rise again. Personal and selfish gains is a new order, unlike what we had in the past. Again, another retrospection, right? Looking into the past. The earlier this ugly narrative changed, the better for our society. We need best brains, thinkers on our seats of authorities. However, he ends this way. He says, the question remains, therefore, do our people elected and appointed in the corridors of power have any strong desire or will to make our nation work better? I think that's a rhetorical question. And thanks, Chigozie. And I would want to leave it at that question for each and every one of us. So not just about those in the corridors of power. It's really about each and every one of us. In one of our earlier episodes, I think in January, we have talked about we the people. We have talked about the power of the people. We have talked about democracy, which we practice. The power comes from the people. And in other words, the most powerful office is actually the office of the citizen, which you and I belong. Yes, have there been conversations around the faulty constitution, the 1999 constitution that we have that is not representing the people? Yes. Are there conversations around having a proper referendum or having a proper constitution of we the people? Yes. So again, these conversations are legitimate. These conversations are genuine. And I think that question around what do we have any strong desire or will to make our nation a better place is a question for each and every one of us to look into. Another comment on Intergen came from my elder brother, Afolabi Imoukhuede, and he says, intergenerational cooperation is key to solving many of the issues that plague our country. So you see, we said intergenerational conversations, but now he's used the word cooperation. In other words, beyond conversations, we need to work hand in hand together. And he says it's key to solving many of the issues plaguing our country, beyond just Nigeria, actually. As we know, this show is a global show, but it's really something that will solve our problems, whether it's America, it's a global tide. Now, just the next point, I was very deliberate in lapping these two feedbacks that come and taking them right after my brother Adekin's feedback. One from our avid follower and avid viewer, Mr. Shola Awolesi from Canada. He says, very impressive conversation. Both sides of the generation have things to learn from the other. He says, but the younger generation must be patient and be closer and willing to learn and work with the older generation so that they can take the baton and bring their views and solutions to the problem. Now, okay. So this, he clearly, Mr. Woderu from Canada, he is a baby boomer generation. Now let me follow with another point, even though this feedback came from episode 20 and it came from Fola Zion World. It says, from the millennial generation down to generation Z, the Gen Z, we in that group were not patient to stay in one place to learn for a long time. Now, understand why I've brought this together. Let's first note all the comments from the beginning, but my elder brother says intergenerational cooperation is important. When I talked about PRISM the other time, see what I'm saying. Mr. Woderu now from Canada, who is a baby boomer, believes is a younger generation that need to be patient to learn from the older generation so that they can take the baton. The younger generation out there will say, why should we be the one patient? Why is the older generation not paving the way for us, to have a seamless handshake or a seamless handover? Are you seeing prism now? Prism. Everybody will look at life from his or her own prism. Now, I being the moderator, what have I now done? I've taken from the baby boomer. I'm speaking now for a Gen Z or a millennial. But guess what? One of them now says, we in this generation, whether millennial or Gen Z, we are not patient at all to stay in one place to learn for a long time. And this came from the point when Noge mentioned of her career, how she spent 15 years at Merrill Lynch learning and rising through the ranks. So that 15 years, the notion of 15 years for a Gen Z or a millennial generation, you see their reaction. We are not patient to Dr. Awoderu says they need to be patient. So again, you've seen perspectives, right? You've seen prisms. So you have a hashtag, Never An Afterthought. Like I mentioned, these conversations do not end when the show ends. They actually continue. So I want you all to join into this conversation and let's have a more robust engagement. But thank you everyone for your feedbacks. Another one from Titi Lokbe for Lion. It says, and this is now coming from last week's episode with Noge. It says, kudos to you, ma'am, and to your husband. Men who support their wives to achieve their dreams are not many. Wow. Titi Lokbe, we need to have a conversation. Because this is an indictment on men. And I am a man, and I know that I support my own wife to achieve her dream. So this is an indictment. And so I want to ask the men who are viewers, is this true? Now, Titi, the first question for you is, are you married? And if you're not, how did you come about? If you are, fine. If you're not, how did you come about this strong opinion? I would love to hear from you because I think it's important to get the backstory. Now, I know that when we talk about profiling, and especially when we talk about African men, we tend to say, oh, the profile of an African man, he wants to be the Lord, he wants to be the boss, he wants to lord over the wife. They see the woman, as tools, the woman in the kitchen, the woman in the other room, and things like that. So, that's a prism, right? That's a profiling, right? That's a profiling that's also very particular about certain generations. And as the generations move, I think that must be changing. But I can only speak for myself. So all men out there, this is a challenge to us. I hope that our hashtag will get buzzing. But Titi, if you don't mind, if you want to share with us more personal backstories, all ears to listen. But kudos to Dr. Ahis, who is the husband of Noge, and so I hear you are doing a good job, so thumbs up. Okay, Kolade Adegunloye says, I love inspiring stories like this. That's where it ended, but privately, he did come back to me, and this was his question. Egbon, how can we ensure this show reaches a lot more audience? So let me take a break. Let's take a break and we'll discuss this and a little more after the break. Today, we will be discussing igniting the power within. I've got with me a sister, a wife, a mother, and indeed a professional colleague who is doing stellar work in America's Wall Street.
Being on Wall Street is not just hard for women, it's hard for everybody. If you want to show someone that you are interested, you have to put money down or time. Put something of value to say, this is an investment. There are 3 things you need to be a banker. You need to know your numbers, you need to know technology, and you have to be kind. Be kind. Because one of the key things of success is networking.
She spoke about grit again. We almost can't get away from that word grit. Please join me on YouTube every Thursday at 6 p.m. West African time for another exciting and engaging episode of the Never An Afterthought Show. Greetings again. Welcome to another episode of the Never An Afterthought Show. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to another episode under the series AI and You, literally where I get to take time out in a very casual atmosphere, as you can observe, and I take your feedbacks and I discuss your feedbacks in detail. And that's what we've been doing in the last 20-25 minutes. And I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget our hashtag, the Never An Afterthought, by which we join and continue these conversations across all our social media channels: Twitter at NAA_book, Facebook and Instagram at NAA Afterthought, email, which is podcast@neveranafterthought.com, and obviously you can always leave me a comment on the platform wherein you're watching or listening to me. So we went on break, taking caller day's feedback, wherein he had mentioned that he so loves Noge's story, inspiring stories, and literally came back to me privately to ask the question, how can we ensure that such inspirational story reaches a lot more audience? Well, guys, firstly, the answer to that question is in your hands. And why do I say that? It's really about each one bring one. I think it was last week we did mention that because last week was a milestone for us. Last week was episode 20, and we discussed that over 21 weeks we had been in your home, and over across 20 episodes, and we've had over 9,000 viewers, accumulating over 722 hours thereabout, and I think basically about 340 thereabout subscribers. And so really it's going over the best marketing tool or the best referral is still the word of mouth referral. So each one bring one, and you're free to reproduce our content in any form and manner. Just give the credit to the show, because you also know that I gave credit to the production team and everyone that works behind the scene to bring this to you every week. So all we require is give credit to the show, but you can always, what Kolade decided to do was to turn it into some 2 seconds, 3 second sound bites. Some short sound bites. I think maybe some 2 minutes, 60 seconds or 90 second sound bites that he's able to share across his own personal platform. So it's really about each one bring one. And when we do that, if each one brought one, our subscribers will grow immediately from about 340 to 700, right? And if each one again bring one, it will grow in multiples. So really, the first way, the answer is in your hands. The second is that's the reason why we created the hashtag, the Never An Afterthought. Again, I see very engaging live chat conversations on the platform of the show. But let's remember there's also a podcast, and you really cannot give live comments on podcasts. So it's only if they send me emails or send us, or go, I don't imagine that you listen to a podcast and then go to the YouTube channel to leave your comments. A lot more would probably just use our WhatsApp or other channels to reach us. So, but that's why we actually have that hashtag, so that even if you listen to the podcast using that hashtag, you can share your comment, your feedback, your opinion on social media, and then a lot more people can engage. It's really a conversational hashtag, and that's why I said that we'll use it before the show. The hashtag is used to drive conversations before the show, during the show, and after the show. So maybe I want to enjoin a lot of you audience who are very engaging during the show, during the live chat. Beyond the show, can you please take some of those conversations to social media, just so that a lot more people can benefit, just like Kolade is saying. Another way is, I've just mentioned it, these live chats can go go to the public on social media. I think the last point, really, again, I would look forward to your answers. So you can give us ideas either publicly or privately, and we'll love to hear from you. Okay, so that's really where all the feedbacks end. So let me say thank you for your engagement, albeit it's still very closed and private, but I'm sure as we do this more publicly, we will get a lot more people to join in. So today, having done this, I just want to then charge and encourage us in the same light that our comments have taken. Last week, we titled that episode, Igniting the Power Within. Those of you who watch, you will know that we have not concluded. We actually just barely started. We had actually not taken off on the topic in itself. And so we will have Noge back. Let me remind you again, if you have your questions, comments. I haven't seen any question for Noge so far. You all have dropped your comments. Impressive. But yeah, it's life, right? She's sharing a life story, which each and every one of us can relate with. So please throw in questions, so that she can then prepare, she can curate our second coming, to really match your interest and your questions. But I want to charge us in that same spirit of igniting the power within. And I want to, and the reason is this. I have looked at the environment. I see, like I said to us a few weeks ago, that it's tough out there, and it's still tough. The pandemic has not made things easy at all. And as we hope that the vaccines rollout happens, and that we're really able to bring this virus under control so that our life can go back to some type of a new normal. We hope it happens, and it happens pretty soon. But again, livelihoods are challenged, and the environment is charged. There's a whole lot of tension, and in Nigeria in itself, there's also some toxins in the tension that therefore makes the environment a little bit more toxic. And so you realize that sometimes the only thing you then have is really to rely in the power that you have within. I want to leave us with two charges today. The first is to commit to be an improved version of who you were yesterday. In one of the feedbacks, the author of the comment had a question, a rhetorical question for those of us who are in a position of authority, whether public or private sector, or even NGO, right? So long as in a position of authority. But I then mentioned it shouldn't really be about those in a position of authority alone. It should also be even those of us who are followers, those of us who are citizens, those of us who actually, who actually give the power, delegate the power to those that we have elected, and those that we have elected to those that they have appointed. And so if that is the case, you find that in every society, in building every society, each one has his place, each one has his role. So for each and every one of us, can you commit to becoming an improved version of yourself daily? And that aligns with one of my principles, which I also discussed in the book, which is that of continued improvement. Continuous, which is in English we call it present participle, right? Continued improvement. Committing to becoming an improved version of yourself daily. And it doesn't have to be anything big, because if it is daily, then it tells you it's about baby bites. That's one. The second thing is, can you commit to creating and restoring rather than judging? Now, can you commit to creating and restoration? Creation and restoration, creating and restoring rather than judging. Because you find that either part, either side that you belong, either side of the alley that you belong, energy is required. If you are on the judgment side, the one who is judging, and I'm not saying now that we should not hold accountability, we should not hold for accountability. Don't get me wrong. So by saying judging, I'm not saying that we should now not hold people accountable. Everyone should be accountable. We all should live a life of accountability. The lack of accountability is the reason for impunity. And that's the reason why our society is where it is today. So I clearly will never be an advocate for non-accountability. But the point I'm saying is, the same energy we spend judging and not ready to do anything about what we are critiquing can actually be spent creating and either creating or restoring. So those are the two things I'm trying to leave with us today. Can we commit to continued improvement? Can we commit to creating and restoring rather than judging? Because the reason is simple. So much going on outside. Blame trading, policy somersaults, constraints, and more constraints. I said it. It is tough. It is tough. I know that. When you also come inside, which is the home, again, what do you find? Frustration from the lack of basic amenities. Let me not spend any time trying to list them. So you find that if outside is tough and inside is also frustrating, where then do you go? So that's why if we borrow a leaf from last week's topic, the only place to then go is to go within, which is why I said igniting the power within. I can only recommend, therefore, that power that we have within, because each and every one of us has got a power within. And within this place, the power within is that place where we talk about the place of quietness and the place of confidence. So where it says quietness and confidence on the inside of you, that's where you really can draw your strength from, the strength to keep going for each day. So therefore, what you find therefore is this. I'll leave you with a few things. I started by asking you, can I leave you with this charge? And if you must live up to those two charges that I've talked about, then you need to ignite the power that is within. Now, how do you really ignite the power that's within? I'll leave you with a few thoughts. One is to grow your faith. And this is a good point where I think I want to celebrate all our Muslim brothers and sisters, even as I wish them a Ramadan Kareem as they begin this holy month of Ramadan. And I pray that may the grace and the blessings of this season not elude you and not elude all that is yours in this season. Amen. The next, so grow your faith. Any faith that you practice, you want to grow your faith because every faith teaches you about the power that is within. The next is for you to build your own selective community of genuine dream builders or confidence boosters. You want to build your own selective community, mark my word, selective community of dream boosters or energy boosters. In other words, you want to eradicate dream killers as much as possible. You want to eradicate dream killers. You want to surround yourself with dream builders and those who would boost your energy or boost your confidence. And I think the last but not the least really is grit. Let's remember that grit. We started speaking grit since the beginning of this year, that episode 7. So it's perhaps a good time for us again to go rewatch episode 7. I did a few days ago. Sometimes you need to listen and listen again. I personally went back to watch that episode about 2 or 3 days ago. And so I want to encourage you, maybe it's a good time to go watch it. That episode 7, Success is a Journey, which was our first show for 2021. And we did talk about grit there. And I would play back that aspect of grit again for us to see. What is worthy of note, however, is one's dogged commitment to grit. And grit is a combination of hard and smart work. Those are I pick those words carefully. There is hard work and there's also smart work. Both are required. So you find that grit is a combination of hard work, smart work, discipline, core values, and grace. And this is also another comment that Jomi made in episode 20 about grit. He says, yes, I remember that grittiest part of the episode and I'm applying it. And that was actually the comment. This comment was made, not episode 20. This comment was made on episode 19 when we were talking about intergenerational conversations. And I remember I was Shegun Aino then who spoke about hard work and smart work. So yes, grit very important. You need grit to really survive. So however, guys, this one thing you must however not do, and that is to repress yourself, particularly most times out of intimidation. You don't want to do it. Rather than repressing yourself, because like I said, if outside is tough, it's inside is tough, you really want to focus on the power within. And sometimes it may be difficult. It's not easy for all of us sometimes, but don't repress your feelings. Very important. Don't repress it. Rather than repress it, you want to express it. I have also learned that the spirit of deafness and dumbness is evil and is so toxic that many times it leads you to throw yourself into the fire. So again, deafness, dumbness, what does, those two characteristics, it is about internalizing things, right? You are not expressing it. To be deaf, you can't hear from the outside. To be dumb, you can't speak. So it's really about internalizing. And sometimes it can be so painful that it leads you to want to throw yourself into fire, want to throw yourself into vices that you really have no business being. It's no surprising what we see around the globe. A few weeks ago, we saw what happened, with that young guy who rammed into the Capitol and unfortunately killed, a police officer. Simply same thing. So depression, it's real in these times. So please let us ensure that you find your confidence, you find your own private confidence that you can express yourself. You can express yourself with. Like I've said, don't repress it, express it. From our part, on our side, we'll continue to play our own part, which is to connect you to a resource network that will enable you to win and indeed continue to win. Yesterday, I saw this quote and I thought it was important. It would come up on your screen, but let me read it for the benefit of our podcast listeners. It says, lift people up. And the quote is credit to at Brooklyn White. At Brooklyn R. White. I don't know who he is. At Brooklyn R. White. It says, lift people up, pass along gigs, say folks' names in rooms they aren't in, put people on when you can, I'll repeat again. It says, lift people up, pass along gigs, say folks' names in rooms they aren't in, put people on when you can. Remember that point Nogi also said last week, where she said she needed to network because those that would mention your names in boardrooms will be people that don't look like you, and many times they will mention your names in places where you are not. So please, every one of us again, do your best to lift people up, do your best to pass along gigs to those that you find competent and you know can do it. Mention names in places where it matters, even when they are not there. And above all, put people on when you can. I think that was a very notable quote. And that quote therefore reminded me also of a clip which I'm going to share with you in a few seconds before we wrap up. And that was a clip, was last year, September, Instagram Live with Afolabi, the CEO of Booksellers, one of our book partners. Let's tune into that clip.
You don't come out now and work with from the world of experience, and practicalize. And I'm not just talking about theory. Like I said to you, one of my training is that the first thing you do with any idea, because any fool can have an idea, any fool. But the first thing you do with any idea is a proof of concept. And that's the point where I said you find an entry point, you knock it, and then you begin to chip. You begin to chip the wall. You begin to chip it. You begin to chip the rock. You begin to chip that obstacle. And gradually, even the forces of nature will collide with you to pull it down. That is what it takes to succeed. That is what it takes to deliver Nigeria. It's not what we think, and that's why I went into, the prince limited me.
So yes, welcome back from watching that clip. He found it very powerful and he shared it on his Instagram. You can go watch on our YouTube page the full interview is there. I think was across two sessions. But yeah, that's so true. That's so powerful. Keep chipping. I think the best way to wrap up today's session is to say to you, keep chipping, and what? Keep chipping. Because the reality is this, in the consistency that you apply to what you do, at some point, even the forces of nature will align and collide to work in your favor. So till we'll come your way again next week, same time, 6 p.m. every Thursday, same channel, the Never An Afterthought channel. Don't forget to stay safe, stay well, and above all, keep winning. God bless you.